Welcome to Zoe Stories. My stepmom said it was for discipline. Now I'm her feminized stepdaughter. I never thought something as simple as missing curfew would change my life forever. My name is Ryan. I'm 19, just out of high school, stuck in that awkward limbo between boyhood and whatever the hell adulthood is supposed to be. I used to think I was a pretty average guy, quiet, a little nerdy, invisible in crowds. I liked coding, horror movies, and listening to sad indie tracks that I pretended didn't make me cry. My dad remarried 3 years ago to a woman named Vanessa. She's beautiful, sophisticated, the kind of woman who turns heads when she enters a room. And she knows it. At first, she tried to play the cool stepmom role, smiling at me during dinner, offering to wash my laundry, buying me cologne I'd never dare wear. But when my dad got a job overseas and left her in charge of the house, things changed. She grew colder, sharper. The rules became strict. One mistake? You were punished. She called it discipline. I called it control. Still, I kept my head down. I didn't argue. I stayed out of her way. Mostly because I had a secret I couldn't afford anyone finding out. When she wasn't home, I'd sometimes sneak into her closet. Just for a moment, just to look. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't stealing. I wasn't hurting anyone. But God, the way her heels were lined up so neatly, the shimmer of her silk blouses, the soft scent of her perfume still clinging to a discarded robe, it stirred something in me. Something I was too afraid to name. Sometimes, when I knew she'd be out for hours, I'd try things on. Carefully. Quietly. I'd lock the bedroom door, slip into one of her pencil skirts, step into a pair of strappy black stilettos, and stare at myself in the mirror. Not because I thought I looked beautiful, but because it made me feel something. A strange mix of thrill, shame, and peace. I never told Elizabeth about that side of me. She was my girlfriend, kind, funny, smarter than me by a mile. We'd been together since senior year, and she liked to think she knew everything about me. But how do you explain something you barely understand yourself? She liked the masculine version of me. At least, that's what I thought. We were in that serious but not living together phase. She'd visit often, sleep over on weekends, and talk about getting our own place someday. She hated Vanessa, said she was too controlling, too perfect, and that she always stared at her like she was being judged. I agreed, but I never said much. Because Elizabeth didn't know about the things I did when she wasn't around. And then came the night everything changed. I came home late, 1:17 a.m. I'd lost track of time at Elizabeth's place, and I didn't check my phone. When I slipped through the door, the house was dark, but Vanessa was waiting for me in the living room. Legs crossed, glass of red wine in her hand, her icy stare burning straight through me. "You were told to be home by midnight," she said. Sorry, I forgot to check the time," I stammered. She stood up slowly. "I don't tolerate disobedience, Ryan. You know the rules." I gulped. My heart thudded in my chest. I said I was sorry, but she wasn't interested in apologies. She gave me a look I still can't describe. Cold, calculating, and almost amused. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. "If you want to act like a child, I'll treat you like one. But in this house, little girls obey their mothers." I blinked. "What?"
"Discipline," she said simply.
"You need it. And I'm going to teach you." I didn't know what she meant, not really. I thought maybe she'd take away my car keys or ground me. But when she told me to come upstairs and wait in her room, my legs went weak. Her tone was firm, unshakable, like she expected to be obeyed without question. I should have said no. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I went upstairs. My hands were trembling. My thoughts were a mess. What did she mean by discipline? Was this some twisted game? Her bedroom door creaked open. The room was dimly lit with scented candles. On the bed lay a folded outfit, pink, frilly, unmistakably feminine. A matching pair of white heels rested on the floor. Lipstick, a hairbrush, a padded bra. My heart dropped. Had she found out? Before I could speak, she stepped in behind me, shutting the door with a soft click. "You've been sneaking into my things," she said. "Don't lie. I've seen the way my clothes are disturbed. I've counted the lipstick marks on tissues. You thought I didn't notice? I froze. My mouth went dry. She stepped closer. You're not in trouble for what you are, Ryan. But you're in trouble for lying. And lying requires discipline. Now, you're going to wear what I laid out, and you're going to do it properly. Do you understand? I couldn't speak. I felt like I was drowning in shame and fear and something else I couldn't name. But I nodded. Good, she whispered. As she left the room, she paused in the doorway. From now on, she added, when you're dressed like this, you'll answer to Riley. That's your name when you're my stepdaughter. And then she was gone. I stood there, alone in her candlelit room, staring down at the pink outfit that would become the beginning of everything. I don't remember how long I stood in that room after Vanessa left. It might have been 5 minutes, maybe 20. Time felt frozen. The candles flickered across the vanity mirror, and the shadows danced like ghosts on the walls. My pulse thundered in my ears. I kept staring at the outfit on the bed, as if it might disappear if I waited long enough. But it didn't. The pink top was soft, delicate, with lace along the neckline and tiny satin bows on the sleeves. A pleated white skirt sat neatly beside it, along with white thigh-high stockings and a matching padded bra. Everything coordinated too well, too perfectly for this to be some impulsive punishment. Vanessa had planned this. She knew. I wanted to run. Just grab my bag and go stay at Elizabeth's for the night. Pretend nothing happened. But I couldn't stop thinking about what Vanessa said. You're not in trouble for what you are, but you are in trouble for lying. She wasn't angry about what I was doing. She was angry I hid it. That confused me more than anything else. With trembling hands, I picked up the bra. It felt heavier than it looked, emotional weight, maybe. The skirt whispered as I laid it across my arm. I found myself walking slowly to the bathroom mirror, almost like I was watching someone else do it. My reflection stared back at me, skinny, pale, anxious.
Just a guy.
No makeup, no mask, nothing hidden. I closed the door and began to undress. Every piece of male clothing I removed felt like peeling away a layer of my armor. When I stepped into the white stockings, they clung to my skin like secrets I never said out loud. The skirt flared just above my knees, light and breezy and humiliatingly short. The top hugged my torso too tightly. The bra, stuffed just enough to give me shape, made me feel awkward but also electric. I avoided the mirror until I had it all on. When I finally looked up, my breath caught. I didn't look like me. Not exactly. But I didn't look like a stranger either. The transformation wasn't perfect, but it was real. This was Riley. I whispered the name to myself, testing it. Riley. The word left a chill on my lips. It was soft, feminine, terrifying, and yet it didn't feel wrong. There was a knock at the door. I jumped, nearly tripping over the heels I hadn't dared to try on yet. Are you decent? Vanessa's voice slid through the door like silk. Why, yeah. The door creaked open. She stepped inside, holding a small makeup bag. Her eyes swept over me slowly, like a sculptor inspecting her latest work. You learn quickly, she said, voice even. But your face needs polish. She walked to the vanity and patted the stool. Sit. My body moved before I could think. I sat obediently, watching her in the mirror as she pulled out a few tools. Lip gloss, mascara,
Blush.
She tied my hair back with a ribbon and began working like she'd done this 100 times before. I didn't dare look at her, just at myself. Her touch was surprisingly gentle. She applied color to my lips, dusted my cheeks, curled my lashes with terrifying precision. And all the while, she hummed a soft tune. Something classical. Something distant. When she was done, she placed both hands on my shoulders.
There, she said.
Now you look proper. I didn't know what to say.
My throat was dry.
My heart raced. Take a good look, she whispered.
I did.
Riley stared back at me. A girl with shy eyes, glossed lips, and fear tangled in her lashes. She was beautiful, in a fragile, unfinished kind of way. This is discipline, Vanessa said softly. Not punishment. You disobeyed. So I'm showing you how to listen. How to become what's already inside you. I turned to her. Why are you doing this? She smiled, brushing a stray hair from my face. Because lying makes you weak. But truth? Truth makes you powerful. And Riley is your truth, isn't she? I swallowed hard. It was never supposed to be real. It was just curiosity. You can lie to me, Ryan, she said, eyes narrowing, but you can't lie to yourself. She handed me the white heels. Put them on. I hesitated, but obeyed. The heels were surprisingly snug. When I stood, I wobbled slightly. Walk, she commanded. I took a step. Slower. I adjusted. Back straight. She followed me with her eyes like a coach watching a clumsy athlete.
Better, she said.
You'll learn. I have plans for you. My stomach twisted. What kind of plans? She didn't answer. Instead, she took out her phone. Now smile. What?
Click.
The flash burned my eyes. You don't need to be afraid, she said, pocketing the phone. As long as you listen, no one needs to see these. A chill slid down my spine. Was she threatening me? Or protecting me? The line was blurry. Later that night, back in my room, I lay in bed still wearing the skirt. I hadn't dared take it off. My fingers ran across the hem absently as I stared at the ceiling. Vanessa hadn't yelled. She hadn't punished me. And yet, something deeper had shifted. She'd peeled back a layer of me no one else had ever touched. I was Riley now, even if only for a moment. And the terrifying part? I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it at all. The next morning, everything felt different. I woke up late, sunlight filtering through the blinds, casting pale stripes across my still bare legs. The skirt I'd slept in was wrinkled, the thigh-highs twisted slightly. I hadn't dared change out of them last night.
Something in me didn't want to.
Maybe I thought I'd undo what happened if I took it all off. That Riley would vanish with the clothes. But she hadn't. She was still here, in the way I touched my lips and half expected to feel gloss. In how I crossed my legs without thinking. In the mirror. Even though I'd washed off the makeup, I still looked softer. Downstairs, the house was silent. Vanessa was gone. A single note sat on the kitchen table. You're excused from chores today. But remember, discipline requires consistency. Expect more tonight.
V.
I folded the note like it was radioactive and stuffed it deep in the trash. My hands were shaking. I had no idea what more meant. I tried to distract myself with gaming, homework, anything, but my brain kept drifting. I couldn't stop thinking about the way I looked in her mirror. The softness. The thrill.
The shame.
The way Vanessa hadn't mocked me, but hadn't exactly been nurturing either. She treated Riley like a project. Like I was clay she could mold into something better. Worse, part of me was curious. Was this what freedom felt like? Or was it a trap disguised as understanding? By noon, Elizabeth had texted. Elizabeth, missed you last night. You okay? Elizabeth, I had this weird dream that you were wearing lipstick LOL. Elizabeth, call me? My stomach dropped. The lipstick comment wasn't serious.
It couldn't be.
But after last night, it hit me like a sniper shot. I ignored the texts. I couldn't face her. Not yet. I showered and changed into regular clothes, jeans, a t-shirt, sneakers, but even then I felt wrong. Like I was in costume. The boy version of me was starting to feel like an act. That realization scared me more than anything Vanessa had said. That evening, she returned around 6. I heard her heels click on the floor. Heard her set down her purse. Pour herself wine. She didn't call me right away. It was like she was giving me time to wonder, to spiral. At 6:30, I heard the knock. 3 slow taps on my door. Come to my room, she said through the wood. It's time. I walked down the hall like a man walking to his own execution. Her room was already prepared. A new outfit waited on the bed. This time, a white blouse with puffed sleeves, a tight red skirt, and black patent heels that were even taller than yesterday's. A wig sat on the vanity, long, brown, styled in loose curls. She didn't say a word as I undressed. She just watched, sipping her wine. I stepped into the skirt. It hugged my hips tightly, forcing me to move delicately. The blouse was crisp and far too feminine for comfort, but I buttoned it all the way up anyway. Then she handed me the wig. I hesitated. Put it on, Riley. I obeyed. With the curls falling past my shoulders, something shifted. My face looked smaller.
Softer.
Almost passable. Almost her. Then came the makeup, bolder this time. Red lipstick. Winged eyeliner. A hint of shimmer on my cheeks. When I stood up, Vanessa clapped once. Much better. I swallowed hard. What now? You're going to spend the evening as Riley. Walking. Speaking. Acting like her. You will not slip. Do you understand?
Why?
Because self-control is learned through repetition. You don't become someone new by hiding. You become her by being her. That night was a strange ritual. She made me help her cook dinner in heels. She corrected my posture, my hand movements, my tone of voice. Speak softer. Girls don't grunt. Don't stomp. Glide. Smile. You're too tense. By 9 p.m., my feet were aching. My throat hurt from trying to pitch it higher. But worse than the physical discomfort was how real it started to feel. Like Riley wasn't just pretend anymore. She was taking root. We sat across from each other after dinner. Her wineglass half full. My plate empty.
You're learning, she said.
I nodded. My reflection shimmered in the darkened glass of the window. I could barely recognize the boy I used to be. Then my phone buzzed. Elizabeth, I'm outside. Thought I'd surprise you. Got Thai food.
Come down?
Elizabeth, are you ignoring me? My blood went cold. Vanessa leaned over, read the message, and smiled. Well, she said calmly, this is unexpected. I need a change. I whispered, panic rising. But she didn't let me move.
No.
You will stay exactly as you are. My heart thundered. She can't see me like this. Vanessa stood and walked to the front door. No, I begged. Please, Vanessa. Don't open it, please. But it was too late. I heard the door open. The sound of Elizabeth's voice.
Oh.
Hey, I didn't know Ryan's mom was home. I'm not his mother, Vanessa replied smoothly. I'm something else. I crouched behind the kitchen counter, heels shaking on tile, chest tight. Then Elizabeth's footsteps moved closer. My body froze. Is Ryan home? She asked. Vanessa paused. He's changing into something new. What? I was seconds from a full-blown breakdown when Vanessa said, he's busy right now, but I'll tell him you came. Silence. Then footsteps.
The door. It closed.
I exhaled. Vanessa walked back in slowly, her heels deliberate. That was close, she said, almost amused. I looked up at her, shame painted across my face. I can't do this. She can't know. She will, Vanessa said. Eventually. But not yet. First, you need to know who you are. She ran a hand through the wig on my head. Her touch lingered. And tonight? You are beautiful, Riley. That word again. Beautiful. I didn't feel beautiful. I felt exposed. But part of me, some deep, hidden part, thrilled at her approval. That night, I didn't take the clothes off. I slept in them again. The next day felt like a hangover without the alcohol. I woke up with smudged eyeliner, sore calves, and the faint scent of Vanessa's perfume clinging to the red skirt I hadn't dared take off. I was still Riley. Even when I stared at the ceiling, even when I pulled off the wig and peeled off the lashes, I could feel her under my skin. That terrified me. I tried to return to normal. Threw on a hoodie, buried myself in my room, opened up an old coding project just to prove to myself that Ryan still existed. But everything felt off. The keys on my laptop felt foreign. My reflection in the screen looked faded. I wasn't focused, I was haunted. Haunted by how real Riley had become. That afternoon, Vanessa didn't say a word to me. She floated through the house like nothing had happened. No commands. No comments. No new outfits. Just silence. And somehow that made it worse. I caught myself craving her voice, her sharp praise, her cold corrections. It was like my mind was addicted to the attention, the validation, even if it came wrapped in manipulation. So, I did something I swore I wouldn't. I went into her closet on my own. The door creaked open softly, revealing a world of color and fabric that felt more familiar now than my own room. My fingers glided across the dresses, skirts, and lingerie. I wasn't even looking for anything specific, just the feeling, that pulse of excitement and shame. I picked out a pale blue dress with delicate lace around the collar. It was shorter than anything I'd worn before. I laid it across the bed, found the matching flats and a soft white cardigan. Then I saw the drawer, the one she never let me open. I pulled it slowly. Inside, wigs. At least 6 of them. Different shades, lengths, curls. All carefully stored on foam heads. Makeup palettes. Lipsticks labeled by season. Even a photo album. I knew I shouldn't, but curiosity pulled me deeper. I flipped it open. Page after page of photos. Some were of me. From the nights I thought we were alone. Angles I didn't remember. Close-ups of my face and makeup. Some labeled. Riley, day 1. Riley, learning posture. Notes scribbled in the margins. Comments on improvements. Weaknesses. Outfit plans. She'd been documenting everything. I slammed the drawer shut. Heart pounding. I felt violated.
Exposed.
Controlled. And yet, something else stirred beneath that panic. She saw me. Even if it was twisted, she saw me. That night at dinner, she finally spoke. You went into the drawer. I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. What? She didn't even look up. The wigs were rearranged. You touched the photos. Don't lie. My mouth opened, but I had no words. She finally looked at me. You're becoming her even when I'm not watching, she said quietly. That's good. That means the lesson is working. It's not a lesson, I snapped, louder than I meant. It's control. You're trying to turn me into someone. She leaned back in her chair. I'm not turning you into anything. I'm letting you become what you've always been too afraid to face. Her words echoed in my mind long after dinner ended. What if she was right? The next day, Elizabeth showed up again. This time, I answered the door. Hair messy. Hoodie zipped high. No makeup. No Riley. Her eyes searched mine. You've been weird lately. I've just been tired, I said, avoiding her gaze. She stepped inside. Tired and dodgy. You barely text.
You're always home now.
What's going on? Nothing. She walked to the couch and sat down. You're lying. I sat beside her, keeping distance between us. She looked at me carefully. Are you cheating on me?
What? No.
God, no, Elizabeth. Then what is it? Her voice cracked slightly. Did I do something? You can tell me. I wanted to. I almost did. The words were on my tongue. I'm confused. I've been dressing up. Vanessa knows. She's pulling me deeper. But I choked.
The shame was too thick.
I'm just not feeling like myself, I mumbled. She scooted closer and grabbed my hand. Then who are you feeling like? That question cut deeper than she knew. I couldn't answer. Look, she whispered. I don't care what it is. Seriously. If it's something weird or secret or whatever, I'm here, okay? You don't have to lie. I stared at her, heart pounding. Did I tell her? End the spiral now? Then my phone buzzed. Vanessa, don't tell her yet. You're not ready. And neither is she. I didn't even realize she'd installed a tracker on my phone. I looked back at Elizabeth and smiled faintly. I promise I'll explain soon. She narrowed her eyes. You better. She kissed my cheek and left not long after, but her words lingered.
Who are you feeling like?
That night, Vanessa had another outfit waiting. This one more casual. A sundress.
Flats.
Light makeup. It wasn't for training. It was for comfort. Tonight, she said, you'll relax as Riley. Not for me. For you.
She poured me tea.
Brushed out my wig. Played soft music. I hated how comforting it was. I hated how it felt right. And I hated that I didn't want it to stop. The days bled into one another, and somewhere between learning how to walk confidently in heels and applying mascara without poking myself in the eye, I stopped being Ethan in a dress and started becoming someone else entirely. My reflection was no longer a disguise. It was a character I was beginning to inhabit. The mirror no longer mocked me. It studied me. Stepmom, or rather Miranda as she now insisted I call her in private, had constructed a life around me that was so intricate, so detailed, it left little space for resistance. I had my own schedule, my own wardrobe, my own skincare routine. My bedroom was a soft pink sanctuary of floral curtains, faux fur rugs, and shelves stacked with fashion magazines and curling irons. My old self felt like a ghost, faded, half-remembered, and irrelevant. She was careful not to use the word permanent, but every time I asked, "How long is this going to last?" she would smile that cold, perfect smile and reply, "Until your lesson is learned, sweetie." But the goalpost kept moving. I was now expected to accompany her on outings, not as her stepson in punishment, but as her daughter in training. Grocery shopping, spa days, a brunch with her friend Camilla, who complimented my earrings and asked where Mommy found such a charming young lady. I blushed. Not because I was embarrassed, but because I liked it. That scared me more than any punishment. The shift wasn't just external. It was creeping into my mind, my thoughts, my language. I caught myself walking with a slight sway in my hips, not even forced anymore. When I crossed my legs while sitting, it happened automatically. I spoke softer, smiled more. I even gasped once when I broke a nail, genuinely upset about it. I hated how normal it was becoming. One night, after a long bath scented with lavender and rose oil, her insistence, of course, I sat in front of my vanity, staring at my reflection. I was wearing a silky pink nightgown, my face still glowing from the moisturizer routine Miranda had drilled into me. My lips looked fuller, my brows arched, my skin smoother, and for the first time, I whispered to myself, "You're kind of pretty." My stomach twisted at the admission. I backed away from the mirror, heart racing. What was happening to me? The next morning, Miranda brought in a shopping bag. "I have a surprise for you, sweet pea," she said, placing it on the bed. I hesitated, opening it slowly. Inside was a designer schoolgirl outfit, plaid skirt, white blouse with puff sleeves, a pink cardigan, and matching knee-high socks. "You're not serious," I whispered, pulling it out. "Oh, I'm very serious," she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "We're doing a photo shoot today. Camilla's daughter is modeling for a teen fashion blog, and I told her you'd join. I'm not a model, but you could be, darling." She tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "You have the look,
The softness,
the vulnerability, and you've come so far. I want the world to see how disciplined you've become." I stared at the outfit, heart pounding. It wasn't just about wearing clothes anymore. This was presentation, exposure, performance. It terrified me, and yet part of me wanted to impress her. The photo shoot was in Camilla's backyard. A white canopy had been set up, with soft lighting, makeup artists, and a professional photographer. I felt like I was walking into a trap and a dream at the same time. Camilla's daughter, Lila, greeted me with a giggle. "OMG, you're adorable," she whispered. "You look just like one of us." Miranda beamed from behind the camera. "Go on, sweetheart. Let's see those poses." I stood awkwardly at first, tugging down the skirt, unsure what to do with my hands. But as the camera clicked, Lila whispered tips into my ear. "Tilt your head, look down. Now glance up slowly, bite your lip, just a little." The praise, the flash, the gentle applause when I nailed a pose. It all blended into a heady rush I didn't expect. By the end, I was laughing, twirling, even blowing kisses at the lens. Afterward, Miranda kissed my forehead. "That's my perfect little lady." The words should have stung, but instead, my chest warmed. I was losing myself, or maybe I was becoming what she always wanted. That night, I opened my old drawer. Inside were folded-up clothes from before, Boxers, oversized hoodie, a faded band shirt. I held them to my chest, trying to remember how they made me feel. They smelled like someone I no longer knew. I dropped them back in and closed the drawer. Just as I did, Miranda knocked gently. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we're going somewhere special. Just the two of us. And I want you to wear your favorite dress." "Why?" She smiled. "Because I think you're finally ready." "Ready for what?" Her eyes glinted. "To see what comes after discipline." My throat went dry.
I didn't sleep that night.
The first few days of attending online classes as Emily were strange but manageable. My stepmom had arranged a full wardrobe, even coordinating my outfits and hairstyles every morning. By now, I had long bangs that framed my face in soft waves. I sat at my desk in pastel blouses, gloss on my lips, my voice carefully trained to sound sweet and feminine. My webcam always on, she insisted. But what had started as a humiliating punishment was turning into something more twisted. She wasn't just teaching me obedience anymore. She was molding me. One morning, I woke up to find that my room had been entirely changed. Gone were the posters from my old life. My plain bedsheets were replaced with a frilly pink comforter. My closet held nothing but dresses, skirts, and lingerie. Even my desk had a vanity mirror now, lined with makeup I knew how to use far too well. "Emily," she said from the doorway, a tray of breakfast in her hands, "you're progressing beautifully. You'll be ready soon." "Ready?" I asked cautiously. She smiled. "To meet people."
To be seen.
"You've been hiding too long. It's time the world saw what a lovely young woman you've become." I froze. "You mean to go out? Like this?" "Of course," she said cheerfully, placing the tray in my lap. "You'll have to start helping around the house in your proper role. You'll even accompany me to brunch with my friends this weekend. As my daughter." I nearly dropped the tray. "But what if someone—" "They won't recognize you, darling. You're not him anymore. You're Emily now. And you will be perfect." The word perfect sent a chill down my spine. Because it wasn't just about appearance. She meant behavior.
Posture. Voice.
Even how I sat, how I smiled. She had trained me so well that when I looked in the mirror, I no longer saw resistance. I saw a scared, pretty girl who didn't know how to fight back anymore. The days leading up to the brunch were a whirlwind. She bought me a floral dress, soft and flowing, with delicate lace gloves and matching heels. She even scheduled a salon appointment. "Just a light perm and facial waxing," she chirped. "You'll love it." I sat in the salon chair while a woman shaped my brows and curled my lashes. The stylist spoke to me as if I was just another teenage girl preparing for a fancy outing. I tried correcting her once, but the glare my stepmom shot me in the mirror shut me up instantly. "You're lucky to have such a stylish mom," the stylist said. I gave a weak smile.
"Yeah.
Very lucky." By the time I returned home, my face looked entirely different.
Smooth.
Sculpted. Feminine. I spent hours just staring at myself in disbelief.
Was this really me?
The morning of the brunch arrived, and I sat on the edge of my bed in my dress and heels, trembling. My stepmom came in, adjusting my necklace and dabbing a bit of blush on my cheeks. "You look beautiful," she whispered. I gulped. "Please, can't we just cancel?" She stood behind me, her hands on my shoulders, her eyes meeting mine in the vanity mirror. "You want to stay my good girl, don't you?" I didn't know what to say. She leaned down. "You've done so well. Don't disappoint me now." The ride to the brunch felt like a slow descent into hell. My heart was pounding. But when we arrived, I realized something horrifying. No one looked twice at me. Her friends cooed over me like I was really her daughter. They asked about school, boys, hobbies. They commented on my dress and my posture. One of them even joked, "She's such a little lady, just like you were at that age." And I smiled. I smiled and nodded and sipped iced tea through a straw like the obedient little girl I had become. When we got home, I collapsed on the couch in tears. I ripped off the heels and buried my face in my hands. "What's happening to me?" I sobbed. "Why are you doing this?" My stepmom sat beside me. Her voice was calm, almost pitying. I'm giving you purpose. You had none before. Just drifting. Angry.
Lost.
Now you have structure.
Grace.
You're thriving. I'm not thriving. I'm disappearing, I whispered. She touched my hair gently.
No, sweetheart.
You're transforming. That night, I had a dream. In it, I stood in front of a mirror. On one side was my old self, shaggy hair, baggy clothes, anxious eyes. On the other side stood Emily, poised, delicate, flawless. I reached toward my old self, but the mirror wouldn't let me through. Behind me, I felt my stepmom's hand on my shoulder. This is who you are now, she whispered in my ear. And when I turned around to scream, there was no voice left in me. The moment I walked into the living room that morning, I sensed the change. My stepmom didn't say a word. She was sitting by the window, sipping tea like a queen waiting for her maid. Her eyes slowly met mine, and in that gaze was authority, cold, deliberate, and completely unshaken. "Good morning, Mia," she said. That name again. Every time she called me that, a tiny protest built up inside me. But my voice had stopped arguing days ago. Even my thoughts felt quieter in her presence, like they'd been trained to wait for permission before forming. I was wearing a pale pink silk blouse tucked into a high-waisted pleated skirt. Beneath it was a lace-trimmed bra and a tight pair of satin panties that hugged me too perfectly. But this morning she handed me something new. "A gift," she said, handing me a glossy white box wrapped in a ribbon. I hesitated, but she raised her eyebrow. "Open it." Inside was a full steel-boned corset, white satin with delicate pink embroidery, ribbons at the laces, and a firm, heavy structure. I froze. "You want me to wear this?" "I want my daughter to stand like a lady," she replied calmly.
Posture.
Elegance. Control. She said the word control like it was everything. And maybe it was. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her I wasn't her daughter, that I was a boy, that this was madness. But all I said was, "Yes, ma'am." In her bedroom, she helped me tighten it. Each pull of the laces made me gasp. It crushed my waist until breathing became intentional, shallow, and precise. I was reshaped. My body curved unnaturally, my back stiffened, and my chin was lifted by necessity. "You'll wear it until you forget what freedom feels like," she whispered into my ear. That's the point. And maybe it worked. I walked differently in the corset. Each step was calculated. Each gesture rehearsed. Even the way I sat, back straight, knees close, fingers gently folded, was molded by the garment constricting my ribs. But more than that, I looked beautiful. That's what scared me the most. The reflection in her full-length mirror showed someone so poised, so polished, so pretty. The makeup she applied, winged eyeliner, glossy lips, a blush that made me look like I'd just been kissed, only heightened the illusion. Or the reality. She made me stand there for 15 minutes just watching myself. "See her," she said. "That's who you are now. And you're going to practice being her until you're flawless." Practice became performance. She started inviting her friends over again. This time, I was introduced as her stepdaughter without hesitation. "This is Mia," she'd say. "She's been such a handful, but I've finally found a way to teach her manners." The way the women looked at me, judging, approving, curious, made my skin burn. But worse was how natural it started to feel. I curtsied. I poured tea. I crossed my legs when seated and smiled politely when spoken to. One of them asked, "Isn't she a bit new to all this?" My stepmom smiled. "You should have seen her before. She's blossoming now. Aren't you, darling?" I nodded like a trained pet. "Yes, ma'am." That night, I cried in the bathroom, but I cried quietly, like a girl, like Mia. She didn't just feminize my body, she reprogrammed my behavior. I was corrected for tone, punished for posture, praised for grace. And the punishments weren't violent. That would have been easier.
They were disciplinary tasks.
I had to write lines. "I am proud to be my stepmother's daughter." 100 times, then 200, then dressed in heels. She made me clean her closet in a maid's outfit when I failed to maintain my poise in front of guests. She made me redo my lipstick 5 times if I didn't get the shape perfect. There was always a lesson. At one point, she said, "You're starting to disappoint me less. That's progress." And somehow I took it as a compliment. One night, I caught a glimpse of the boy I used to be, a photo from before, hidden in the back of a drawer. A messy-haired teen, awkward and unsure, smiling with friends. I stared at it, numb. That face didn't match the one I saw now. Was that me? Was this a punishment or a rebirth? I almost didn't recognize him anymore. She started calling me her perfect little girl. And the scariest thing was, I was starting to believe her. Because deep inside the corset, under the lace and silk and shame, something had changed. The resistance was still there, buried, but it was quiet, tired. And in its place was something darker, something colder. Obedience. I should have seen it coming. The moment my stepmom told me we'd be hosting a fancy dinner party at home, I felt a pit settle in my stomach. I was barely getting used to walking in heels around the house, still stumbling every now and then. Now she wanted me to serve guests as her daughter. No escape. No protest. Just that firm, unreadable smile on her face. She picked out a new outfit for me. A slim black velvet cocktail dress with lace-trimmed sleeves, sheer tights, and delicate black heels with ankle straps. My hair was curled again, makeup heavier this time, smoky eyes and a red gloss that made me look like someone else entirely. "This is an important night," she said, clipping a pearl necklace around my neck like a noose. "We have guests who matter. Don't embarrass me." I nodded quietly, voice already silenced by fear and powder. The guests started arriving around 7. I stayed in the kitchen at first, waiting for her signal. I could hear laughter, wine being poured, the low hum of classical music in the background. Then she called out, "Darling, come greet our guests." I stepped out into the living room, my heart pounding in my ears. Everyone turned. There were about 10 people, mostly her friends, wealthy, refined, and far too observant. One man raised an eyebrow. Another woman's eyes narrowed before she smiled politely. My stepmom walked over, placed a hand gently on the small of my back, and said, "This is my stepdaughter, Danielle. Isn't she just precious?" Danielle. That was the name she'd been using when she dressed me up. I had never heard it spoken in public before. It felt like someone dropped cold water on my back. I gave a tiny curtsy, trembling. For the next 2 hours, I was trapped in a waking nightmare. I poured wine, handed out hors d'oeuvres, giggled when prompted, and prayed no one would look too closely at my face or notice my hands trembling. My stepmom kept glancing at me from across the room, every look a warning. Stay in character. I spilled wine once, just a splash, on a man's sleeve. My stepmom shot up so fast from her seat, I thought she'd levitate. "Danielle, darling," she cooed with fake sweetness, taking the glass from my hand. "Go to your room and freshen up." I escaped up the stairs like I'd been given a lifeline. I stared at myself in the mirror. Lipstick smudged, cheeks flushed, my curls slightly frizzy from the heat and panic. I looked like a doll that had been played with too roughly. I didn't want to go back down. I couldn't. But 5 minutes later, there was a soft knock. My stepmom entered, closing the door behind her. She was calm, collected, the calm that comes before a storm. "You're sloppy," she said quietly. "But you smiled. You acted. You're learning." I stayed silent, holding back tears. Then she walked up to me and held out a box, a jewelry box. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with a tiny heart charm. "For your performance tonight," she said. "You've earned it." That was the moment I realized she wasn't just humiliating me anymore. She was rewarding this version of me. She wanted me to believe this identity was mine. And she wanted me to want her approval. I took the bracelet. And for a second, a horrible second, I felt proud. After the party, she made me sit with her on the couch, still dressed up, as she sipped wine and scrolled through photos on her phone. Photos she had taken during the evening. Pose shots, candid ones, even a short video of me handing out glasses with a polite smile on my face. She showed them to me like they were pictures from a proud mother's scrapbook. "You photograph beautifully," she murmured. "You're going to thank me someday for all of this."
I didn't say anything.
She put the phone down and looked me dead in the eye. "You were born in the wrong role," she whispered. "But I'm fixing that." Then she kissed me on the forehead and said goodnight, leaving me sitting there, still in the dress, still in heels, the scent of perfume and wine and shame clinging to me like a second skin. I didn't sleep that night. The bracelet was still on my wrist, and in the silence, something terrifying crept into my mind. What if I was starting to forget what I used to look like? What if she wasn't breaking me anymore but rebuilding me? I stared at myself in the mirror. The blush on my cheeks, the glossy pink lipstick, the perfectly curled hair cascading past my shoulders. None of it looked fake anymore. None of it looked like a costume. No, it looked natural. Worse, it looked right. Stepmom stood behind me, brushing a few strands into place, her touch motherly yet possessive. "There," she whispered. "My beautiful girl." I should have flinched, should have pushed back. But I didn't. I just swallowed, blinking at the reflection. This fragile, gorgeous creature in a pastel sundress with a golden anklet and shaved legs. Was that really me? My mind screamed yes and no at the same time. But my body, my posture, the soft breath I let out, it was all feminine. The week had been a blur. After the incident at the mall, there was no pretending anymore. Stepmom had declared it openly at home. "This is who you are now. You've proven it." Dad hadn't returned yet from his trip, and I wondered how long that shield would last. But Stepmom moved quickly. Each day brought stricter routines. "Hormonal pills to soften your resistance," she claimed, accompanied by spa appointments, vocal training, and even online therapy sessions labeled "adjustment for young women with gender discomfort." But I didn't have gender discomfort. Did I? Was it discomfort or denial? I hated how convincing I looked. Worse, how right it felt when strangers addressed me as ma'am or complimented my shoes. Every little thing that used to feel forced, sitting with my knees in, walking on heels, giggling politely, had begun to feel automatic. One evening, Stepmom sat me down at the kitchen table with a folded pink invitation. "You're going to your first girls-only dinner party tomorrow." I blinked.
What?
"You're ready. It's a quiet affair. My friends' daughters will be there. You'll blend in beautifully."
I
can't. What if someone notices? They won't. You pass perfectly now, sweetheart." She said it with pride, like she'd sculpted me with her own hands. And maybe she had. That night, I lay awake in my pink, floral-themed bedroom. The scent of lavender lotion still lingered on my arms. I clutched a stuffed bunny she had insisted I sleep with to reconnect with my softer side. My phone buzzed. A message from Claire. "I still can't believe it's you. You looked beautiful at the mall. Wanna talk?"
Claire.
The girl who had seen me at my lowest and highest? I hesitated, then typed back, "I don't even know who I am anymore." She replied instantly. "You're the girl who smiled when she twirled in that dress. Don't lie to yourself." I stared at those words. The girl who twirled. Was that me? The next evening, I stood outside a grand suburban home, clutching a small purse, my heels tapping nervously on the driveway. Inside were girls my age. Real girls. Confident, stylish, social. Stepmom squeezed my hand. "Relax. You belong with them. Just smile and be polite." She rang the bell. The door opened, revealing a fashionable woman in her 40s, and behind her, 3 teenage girls laughing and sipping sodas. They turned and looked right at me. My heart stopped. But instead of snickers or confusion, I got wide eyes and, "Oh my God, you're stunning. Where'd you get that dress? I love your eyeliner." Within minutes, I was inside, surrounded, complimented, invited into conversations about lipstick brands and celebrity crushes. I didn't understand it, how easily they accepted me. But the more they spoke, the more I responded and forgot to be afraid. I found myself laughing, smiling, even giving eyeliner tips I'd learned from Stepmom. And when one of them suggested we take selfies together, I didn't shy away. I leaned in. The photos were posted online with captions like Gieno with the prettiest babes, and there I was.
Smiling.
Feminine. Fitting in. I had become what stepmom wanted. And maybe what I secretly needed. Later that night, back home, stepmom held my phone. "You didn't tell me Claire called." "She did. She wants to meet you. As you." I hesitated. "Do you think she really likes this version of me?" "She likes the real you. The one I helped you uncover." I looked at the mirror again. The girl in the reflection wasn't a disguise anymore. She was confident.
Soft.
Strong in her own way. And real. I took a deep breath, then whispered to my reflection. "I'm her now, aren't I?" Behind me, stepmom smiled. "You always were." I stood in front of the mirror, my manicured hands gently adjusting the strap of the soft pink sundress I now wore so easily. It hung from my body like it was made for me. No, like I was made for it. There was no awkwardness anymore. No confusion. No resistance. The boy I once was, the one who used to slam his bedroom door, hide in oversized hoodies, grunt instead of speak, he had quietly slipped away. In his place stood the refined, composed girl my stepmother had envisioned. No longer reluctant. No longer rebelling. Just me. Her. Lily. My name. Now said without irony. Without mockery. And worst of all, without fear. It had been 2 months since the school meeting, and the fallout had been quieter than expected. My father never returned from his business trip. Rumors swirled, but my stepmother took control of everything. Finances. Household.
Me.
Her word was law now, and no one questioned it. At school, the stares had become less cruel and more curious. Some girls even complimented my look. A few boys flirted. Tentatively, testing the waters. I never flirted back, but I also didn't lash out or run. I had learned poise.
Grace.
Courtesy of countless correction sessions at home. I still remember the day she handed me the letter. It was from the academy, the elite finishing school she had always admired but could never attend. It was addressed to Miss Lily Andrews. A full-year scholarship, tailored to young women who needed structure, poise, and the ability to blossom into socially brilliant young ladies. I looked up at her in horror, gripping the paper like it might burn me. You can't be serious." She smiled gently, brushing a curl from my cheek. "You're beyond ready. And this is your future now." I shook my head. "You promised. You said this was just for a few weeks. A punishment. Not forever." She cupped my face, her eyes soft but commanding. "Darling, don't you see? The punishment ended weeks ago. This isn't about control anymore. It's about who you are, who you were always meant to be." I backed away, breath shaking.
No.
"I never asked for this. You made me." "I guided you," she interrupted, tone firm now. "And look at the result. You walk like a lady. You speak like one. You even dream like one now, don't you?" She wasn't wrong. The dreams had changed. The voice in my head had changed. Sometimes I even caught myself liking how I looked, how I felt. That was the scariest part. The academy uniform arrived in a white box 2 days later. It was elegant, pristine. A soft navy blazer with a silver crest, a pleated skirt, silk blouse, pantyhose, heels, a matching ribbon for my hair. I held each piece like it was a chain, and yet I couldn't deny how beautiful it all was, how natural it felt in my hands. The night before I left, I sat on my bed, curling my hair like she taught me. She watched from the doorway with quiet pride. I finally asked her, voice trembling, "Why me?" She walked in, sat beside me, and placed her hand over mine. "Because you were lost, angry, and I saw something in you no one else did. I saw someone who could be free if only you'd stop hiding." "And you think this is freedom?" I asked bitterly. She looked into my eyes, unwavering. "You smile more now. You laugh. You cry without shame. That's more freedom than you ever had locked in that boy's body." I didn't argue, because part of me believed her. The next morning, she kissed my forehead and helped me into the car. My bags were packed. My nails freshly painted. My name tag ready. Miss Lily Andrews. She handed me one last thing before I closed the door. A locket. Inside was a picture of us, her, smiling confidently, and me, in a lavender dress, holding her hand, eyes filled with a strange mix of fear and peace. "Never forget who made you," she said softly. "I won't," I whispered. And I meant it. The gates of the academy loomed as the driver pulled in. Girls milled around in perfect uniforms, chatting, giggling, twirling their hair. I stepped out of the car slowly, heels clicking on the stone path. Every movement was poised, practiced,
Perfect.
like a doll that had come to life. One of the girls waved at me. "Lily, right? You're in dorm 3B. Come on, we saved you a spot at lunch." I nodded, smiled shyly, and followed. And just like that, I disappeared into the world she had crafted for me. There was no going back now.